and welcome back to another fabulous episode of Pageants and Prosecco. My throat is doing a little something funky, so I'm not gonna do too much yelling today. And I have my tea on hand. I'm drinking moringa tea. It's really good for women's reproductive health. And I just found out I had a fibroid and I have a cyst. I'm trying to think. I have a fibroid and I have a cyst. So I heard that moringa tea is really good for helping to kind of work through that. So I found some at Whole Foods, and now I'm sipping on it, and it's really good. It's a green tea. I am so excited about today's episode because I am featuring someone who I really wanted to interview for a very long time, and I'm so excited to have her on the episode today. You guys know her as Miss DC USA. She is now Miss Black US Ambassador. Miss Black International Ambassador, MBIA. We had Patrice Harrison on the show earlier, so go back and listen to that episode, the director. And today we have Cierra Jackson, and I'm just so excited to talk to her. So let's learn a little bit more about Cierra. Cierra is a motivational speaker and a fourth-generation female entrepreneur who is the co-owner of Cierra's Corner with her mother and owner of Cierra Jackson Consulting. Oh, you guys gotta forgive me. My throat is doing something funky. Oh my goodness. Cierra's Corner is a second-generation women-owned business established in 1994, specializing in women and children's apparel and pageant and evening wear. At Cierra Jackson Consulting, Cierra aids her clients by building their talents, skills, and forge strong community partnerships, meaningful platforms, and iconic brands that leave lasting impressions. Ms. Jackson is a proud alumna of two women's colleges, Spelman College and Yale University's Women's Campaign School, and is the fourth of now 8 women, you guys, in her family to attend Spelman College, which is a HBCU, and it's an all-women's school. And it's in Atlanta, right? It's in Atlanta. She was selected as both a White House and Capitol Hill intern. Cierra served as the only White House intern in her class to serve as the Chief of Staff's office during the Obama administration. Cierra is also an accomplished singer who has not only worked in the White House, but has performed there too. Cierra, who has also served as a TV host, has been featured in Cosmopolitan, Essence, MSNBC, The Washington Post, Gossip, People, and on First Lady Obama's Instagram and service campaigns. Cierra was crowned in the Bahamas over this past summer, and proudly reigns as the current Miss Black International Ambassador. She also is really, really deep into the pageant world, you guys. She is we call her on the show, a high school senior in the pageant world. Let me just go ahead and list some of her previous titles. She was Miss Phi Beta Sigma of the Chi chapter at Morehouse College, and she won as a freshman, having only been on campus after 2 months. In the Miss America pageant, she was Miss Brookhaven, representing in Georgia, competing for Miss Georgia, and she got top 12. She came back as Miss Rome, Georgia, which is actually like a fun place to live, Rome, Georgia. And she was the first African-American Miss Rome. She was also Miss Columbus, Georgia, her hometown pageant, and her first time winning a local title, competing at a state competition with her natural hair. And she was also Miss District of Columbia, where she won the swimsuit competition at Miss America. Became the first Miss DC to win the title with natural hair. It was trending online, and she was competing with natural hair and became the first woman to compete with an afro at Miss America on the Miss America stage. And we'll get into all this today in the episode. She was also crowned Miss District of Columbia USA for the Miss Universe organization, where she placed top 15 at Miss USA, becoming the first woman to win the DC Miss America and Miss USA titles, individually and conjunctively with natural hair, and became the longest reigning Miss DC USA. Cierra has also served as an ambassador to 2 nonprofits, Running Start and She Should Run, where she is encouraging and training young women from all over the nation, even in Iceland, to run for political office. Cierra founded It's Her Power, which aims to encourage women and girls to redefine leadership, especially as politicians, and men to use their power to advocate for the advancement of women and girls. Through It's Her Power, Cierra leads unique programming like It's Her Power Conference and Iron Royal Tea, an exclusive invite-only event honoring leadership, excellence, performing arts, and the value of community. You can attend these upcoming events more this fall. And I'm so excited to have Cierra Jackson on the show. We have so much to talk about and get into. Why don't we give a nice, warm cheers to Cierra Jackson?
Hi.
Hello, my love.
So good to be here.
I'm so excited to have you on the show. I have my notebook ready.
Nice. Okay. I love it. Leopard print. We love it.
Thank you. And I have my pencil, my number 2. And I got the big pencil.
Okay.
Ticonderoga pencil. And I have so many questions to ask you.
Okay.
And I'm so glad to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really great. It's a beautiful day outside. The sunlight is just shining, so I'm super happy about that. So it's been a great day. How about yourself?
Well, it's been a good day for me, but it's opposite over here. It's raining. It's storming right now. It's so wet, and it's almost flooding.
Oh, no. Hopefully it turns up better soon.
Yeah, but these are days I kind of like. It's thundering. I don't have to go outside. It's like a nice chill day. I have my tea. It's kind of like a Sunday morning.
Yeah, I love Sunday mornings. They're the best.
Okay. Oh my goodness. So why don't we just get into it, because you have so many layers to you. And being from the District of Columbia, I really wanted to interview one of you DMV girls, because as someone from the outside looking in on the whole DMV pageant scene, you guys are all so amazing. Like, also amazing. And then District of Columbia has done really well at Miss USA, as we know. And I feel like there's something in the water that makes you guys just so phenomenal, in the pageant stage, in the pageant world. And I think it's probably like, being around politics and being around those type of people and seeing business people day to day. But what do you think is that it factor, I guess you could say, to start, that you grew up with coming from the DMV that makes you and other women so successful on a pageant stage?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's most importantly, I would say the ambition. So I actually am a military kid. I was actually born in Kentucky, raised in Georgia, and moved to DC 6 years ago. Okay. And it gave me an incredible opportunity to be independent and to really seek my ambitions and my goals and like fuel those ambitions and achieve them. And I think so many women in DC have that because we are all extremely ambitious and we want to achieve something. A lot of times that is connected to our global community and our environment and being able to make a change in our world. So because of that, we already immediately feel that we need to do not just what we're currently doing, but do so much more for the world. So when people get to meet us at these different spaces, whether that be Miss Black International Ambassador, Miss America, Miss USA, they're seeing just a glimpse of this ambition that we have that is a part of our life, So I think that that's what adds to it. And we're just some go-getters. Like, we will make it happen no matter what. And I think that that is what being a woman who's a leader is all about, and really just going after what you want to achieve in life.
I love that. And I feel like it's like a whole East Coast culture to just kind of go and like want to be a hustler and just succeed. Because now I think about New York also is really good as well. I feel like it's like a East Coast thing. That's kind of interesting. You said independence. What was your first moment or activity that you did that you feel like you are now stepping into a new type of woman, where you felt like you were like becoming truly independent, whether it was like going to college and becoming successful, or was it competing in pageants? At what point did you feel like you was becoming girl to woman?
So I grew up in Columbus, Georgia, and I moved to Atlanta for college. So that was one part of it. I always remember like leaving my dorm for the first time. My first, I guess, day after NSO was complete at Spelman, and like closing the door and not having to ask anyone if I could leave, because you grow up with your family all the time. They're like, let us know when you're leaving the house. Like, that was my first feeling of independence. Yes, like that first day after NSO in college is like definitely that part for me. But then in addition to that, I would say when I moved from Georgia to DC, I definitely took that leap of faith to pursue a career in politics, to pursue my independence, to pursue all of my goals and aspirations, whether that be pageantry or politics or whatever the case may be. And it really was something that I feel like was one of the best decisions that I could have made. And it really led into what I call my God year, which is a highlight that I have on it's a highlight that I have on Instagram, but it also is something that literally happened in my life. And it's literally I took this leap of faith. I think I had just graduated from Spelman. I went to Washington, D.C. for the first time to hear First Lady Michelle Obama speak at a luncheon. And it was just truly an incredible experience. And there was like just a calling on me. Like literally, I came to DC and I was just like, I don't know what it is, but I'm going to be back here one day. Don't know how I'm getting here. What'd you say?
I'm going to stay here.
Yeah, I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to get back here. I don't know what I'm going to do when I get here, but I just feel this energy in this city. And this is the first time I've been here. And I just feel like I'm going to be back. It was just such a weird feeling, right? But lo and behold, after I told myself, I'm still going to compete in Georgia. I was Miss Columbus. Well, I would soon be Miss Columbus. And I said this would be my last chance because I would love to be my hometown queen, right? So I said, I'm not just going to compete with natural hair. I'm going to win with natural hair. So I competed in 4 competitions. On my 4th one, I won Miss Columbus and then went for Miss Georgia and won a talent award, but ultimately did not walk away with the title, right? So I said, okay, well, prior to that in March, Miss Georgia was in June. I applied to a bunch of different programs, and I got accepted to the Women's Campaign School at Yale University. And I also got accepted to a program called Running Start. And Running Start literally paid for my housing. So I got to live in DC free of charge on Capitol Hill, right behind the Supreme Court. Yeah, it was super cool. I got to work for a female member of Congress. At the time, it was Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, one of only 2
Arizona
of Hawaii, one of only 2 female combat veterans in the House. Well, actually, and Tammy Duckworth, who's now a senator, but nonetheless. What'd you say?
Of Illinois. She's my senator.
Correct. Oh, I love that. Yeah. She's super amazing, super inspirational. So worked for her and I got to be mentored by her. And then I got a stipend in addition to that. And then I also got Fridays off to do leadership development. So Running Start literally gave me a running start into politics. And then after that, I had applied to the White House internship about 3 times. I think 2 times. And then I applied one more time in my last term of eligibility. And at first I was like, oh, no more internships. I'm good. I'm done. Like, cannot do this anymore. I'm ready for like the big time stuff. Right. And then lo and behold, literally on the day that I was watching, Betty Cantrell, who would be who's Miss Georgia at the time, who would become Miss America, who, as a matter of fact, her, Camille Sims from New York, myself, and Patricia Ford, we were all competing at Miss Georgia in 2015. Little did we know we would all be at Miss America the following year, right? So I'm literally watching her win Miss America while I'm submitting my White House application in the Running Start house. And lo and behold, like I pressed in, like literally, I think it was like almost midnight, pressed in, submitted, and was like, this is my last chance being a White House intern. We'll see what happens, right? While I'm sitting in the Running Start house in my last opportunity to be a Running Start fellow and applying for, just my last opportunities for so many different things. And essentially, I get the White House internship. I become the only intern in my class to serve the Chief of Staff's office as their communications intern. And then I apply for Miss DC America, win Miss DC America, compete for Miss America. First woman to compete with an afro, and I win the swimsuit competition, and I turned online. And kid you not, I moved to DC on September 15th, 2015, and I competed for Miss America on September 11th, 2016. So literally in a calendar year, I had worked in Congress, worked in the White House, won Miss America, won Miss District of Columbia, and competed for Miss America. And that's why I call it my God year. And I even met Beyonce in that year too. So it was just an incredible opportunity. Yeah, she was at the White House.
Oh, nice. Where were you at? What was you Were they performing? Was it the Christmas performance?
Actually, no, it was the White House Easter egg roll. So she just kind of came to the White House and she was just there. So we got to like see her. I guess it wasn't like an actual like meeting, but more so of just like you get to see Beyonce in person. So it's really, really cool.
I can't imagine. I feel like I would like just kind of like it's just stuck like it's the queen right there. Okay, so you said so much and you have such a huge way of like motivating our audience. So there's so many things I want to touch on that you said. One, your career in politics. So what is it that you want to, where do you see yourself becoming like as far as politician? What kind of office would you want to run for?
Actually, at this point, I'm not particularly sure which office, but I just know that right now my goal is to work in every facet of like a campaign and to be supportive of politicians in every level of government. And
Okay,
after I go through those processes, I feel like I'll have a better understanding of what position fits best for me.
gotcha. Gotcha.
Mhm.
Because it's something that I advocate for as well. I worked in the Capitol in Illinois for a few years. And Illinois is one of the best states when it comes to African Americans in office and women in office. Well, I don't know what other states got going on, but a lot of women are holding some of the highest titles in Illinois. And so the Lieutenant Governor, Julian Stratton, actually is a Black woman. She's the first Black woman, and first Black person to be the Lieutenant Governor from the state.
Oh, nice.
And so
Congratulations to her.
I know. And when I saw her, I was like, oh my gosh, like we like look alike. You know, she's my mom.
Mhm.
She could be. So that's like so important to have that kind of representation. And Sherry Bustos, I'm not sure if you met her, but she's a
I've heard of her.
congresswoman.
Hmm.
Yeah, she's a congresswoman who was outside of Rockford, where I was a TV reporter. And I asked her, like, what's the biggest thing that you guys can do as women when the U.S. House Representative had the most women a few years ago in 2018, 19?
Hmm.
Whenever they had the most women elected to office in the U.S. House. I said, what's the biggest agenda that you guys can do? And it was family planning and childcare. She said that's two things that women understand and they know that men just simply can't quite relate to. So she said by
Hmm.
having more women in office, we can ease the burden that mothers go through simply through legislation. And that's why I always kind of persuade people to just run for office, period, because you don't know, like, the power of a vote is so important. Like, if you're able to do a nice grassroots campaign and people truly believe in you, then you got it. And then not just that, but if you look at the data and numbers, some people win by 20 votes, 50 votes in some of these very small counties.
That's very
And
true.
I'm sure you can find like 50 people to vote for you. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I always consider running for office myself. I just don't know if I want to become such a public person in that manner. But I feel like there's such a need that can easily be fixed by just in office. And I feel like women are obviously game changers and we're going to like lead this next generation. So I feel like by encouraging women to run for office is such a like a lot. I feel like a lot of people don't feel like they can actually do it. You know, they see like white men in office and they don't feel like they can actually become a politician. And I'm like, no, it's not that hard. Like, it's really not that hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, the logistics of it is just money and hate campaign. But some of these smaller offices, you can really become, you can really run for office, whether it's your school board, your local representative, your state senator. Your districts are kind of small. The one I was considering in Illinois, it's kind of considered like a township, so it's not like a city.
Hmm.
So the borders are kind of about as big as, I don't know, I would say like as big as like maybe like 4 or 5 high schools in one district. You know what I'm saying? Like it's really small compared to like if I was
Hmm.
running for office in Chicago. Chicago goes from like the lake down to like the suburbs. So I'm really glad that you are mentioning this because I feel like it's so important and the people don't realize how easy it is to be a politician. All you really need to do is just win the majority vote. And it's not just running for president. Sometimes it's just the smaller offices, the school boards. And I used to see a lot of parents get so mad at like the school board for doing things. I'm like, well, just run for school board president next year. You know,
Hmm.
it's like easy solution. And I just wish I could just put money towards this all women just running for office and becoming lawyers.
Right, for sure. That's one of the reasons why I created and founded It's Her Power, which is to encourage young women and girls to redefine what it means to look like a leader and to lead in their communities with a servant's heart. So that can be a politician, but that can also mean, being the CEO of a company that you create. That can mean running for or putting in your hat to be a board member of an organization that's important to you. There's so many different ways. That can be leading in your place of worship, whatever that means for you. It's just important for women to know that we can do it. And a lot of times we don't realize that it's just about deciding, number one, and keeping on the course. A lot of times everyone doesn't win their first try, but you still have to keep trying. And lo and behold, if you keep going after that same goal, that door will open for you at some point. So I encourage women to do that. And I also make an effort to support women's campaigns. That doesn't mean that I only work for women, but I have worked on the Michelle Nunn campaign for U.S. Senate, the Stacey Abrams campaign for Georgia governor. And there's just so many other opportunities that I've been able to see and be a part of, but also encourage and actually be an active part of a woman's campaign and making sure that she is able to be elected.
Yeah, I love that. How can they find out more about your nonprofit, Into Her?
Yeah, so you can check out CierraJackson.com and you can learn more about It's Her Power there. And It's Her Power is just an incredible opportunity that I've been able to create. We're having a virtual conference coming up this year. We have one every year. In addition to one of our programs, which is I Am Royalty, we're able to encourage young people and just anyone, to be outstanding, to be a leader, to pursue excellence, whether that's in the arts, in leadership, or in your community service, or even activism. So we have some really cool programs coming out, some more to come. I definitely will share that information with you all. And I'll share that with you, Brett, so you can put it up too. But this is a really cool opportunity for us to encourage women and men to utilize their voices to advocate for women as allies, because a lot of people don't think or don't understand that no great movement has existed without allies from other communities, whether that's the African American movement, the LGBTQ movement. There's just so many different movements that have been, it's been necessary and a requirement that other communities have been able to be allies and support them. And I call on men to do the same thing for women. We live in sometimes a sexist and very patriarchal world, but if we allow ourselves and we allow men to be able to come into the conversation, I think that men definitely, and not that they also are not afraid to come into the conversation, right? And be more open to speaking out on the behalf of women. That way, when women are not in the room during those locker room conversations, right, that men, if they hear someone saying something that's sexist, or even, racist in other spaces, that they speak up and make sure that that person does not feel comfortable with that type of dialogue or with promoting those types of beliefs. And I think that's what allyship can be, from that point to literally being like President Biden selecting a woman for the second highest office in the land by appointing her his VP pick. So those are so many different variations of where men can also play a part in making sure that they're helping the advancement of women.
That's so true, because that's exactly what happened with the governor of Illinois. He chose Julia Stratton for lieutenant governor, and then they won. I think there was actually another woman who was running with someone else when they were running for governor as well in Illinois, a woman. I can't remember who the governor was, who the candidate was.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. That's why I think it's so important. I love your nonprofit. So I do know a lot of people like the logistics of having a nonprofit. At what point did you start it? And can you just walk us through the steps real fast? I know a lot of pageant girls have organizations, but they didn't make it official, like on paper. So can you just walk us quickly real through the steps of creating a nonprofit and running a nonprofit?
Actually, I'm going through that now. So currently it is an initiative, and we are actually doing a fundraiser to build our nonprofit. We're building out the board. We're building out so many different other great opportunities like programming. And really it just started from my platform. And I had looked at my life and I saw the fact that I have only really been educated in higher education at women's colleges, being Spelman College and the Women's Campaign School at Yale University. I've been the
Okay.
ambassador for two other nonprofits, that She Should Run and Running Start. And I have been doing so much work just naturally and organically every single day, advocating for women to run for office. That was the reason why I decided to create It's Her Power. And we're currently in the process of creating that nonprofit and doing that paperwork right now. But I'm super excited. It's a really great opportunity for young people to be a part of this, but also people of any different age. And I encourage you all, if you're listening to this, to reach out to me to be a volunteer, because we're definitely looking for volunteers. And it's something that I'm super proud of.
So when you say going from initiative to a nonprofit, so you guys are fundraising so that way you can pay for your nonprofit status.
Correct. And I'm super excited about the opportunity to be able to not only fundraise, but really to build out a board of leadership. That really will be some of my greatest political icons, people who are mentors, people who are just leaders in their own right. And it's something that I have really wanted to see shine. And I know that there's so much greatness in so many different women. And it's something that I really want to be able to encourage them to be a part of and to be willing to be just as courageous as they want to be. So this is something that has taken a lot of years and a lot of hard work, but it's something that I've definitely educated myself on, and something that I've definitely put in the work and experience to be able to lead. So I'm super excited about it.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so let's talk pageants now, because that's why we're here, of course. Wait, no, I did want to say one thing about your whole story. I think it's so interesting how you manifested kind of subliminally going to DC before when you went there and visited. And then now you're doing all this great work in DC, fast forward, 6 years later. And I think this I feel like the universe is slowly pulling you that direction, up the East Coast. And I think it's amazing that you went from an idea and I thought to not knowing how you can afford living in DC, or, how you're going to get back out here, to being paid to live in DC. And not just are you out there, you're at the best place to be at in DC, which is the Capitol. And the best person to be at the Capitol with, which is Obama, Michelle, and Beyonce.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it just speaks to the fact of not being afraid to make a career move. A lot of times people don't understand that to get some of the goals that you want to achieve, you have to be willing to push the envelope, to step outside of your comfort zone, and to take a leap of faith. And all those things were required in my move to DC. And I would encourage anyone who is concerned about, or maybe is not sure if they should move to a particular place, pray on it to whomever you believe in, you know what I mean? And take the time to really think about what your life would be and what you would be a part of when you go to that particular place. And then allow, God or the higher power, whoever you believe in, to guide you, And I think in the process of that, you will get signs that let you know that you're on the right path. I know for certain if I had stayed in Georgia, I would not have had the opportunity to work in the White House. I know for certain if I stayed in Georgia, I wouldn't have been able to work on Congress and on Capitol Hill. I know for certain if I stayed in Georgia, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to compete for Miss America or Miss USA, and especially for Miss America because unfortunately they still have not crowned a Black woman of color since the time I started competing to this very day. So I know that there are certain things that are beyond my control, whether that be racism or sexism or whatever the case may be. But you have to be willing to put yourself in a better environment for your goals and your aspirations. And I think I definitely did that.
I love that. You're speaking to me, because that's something that I'm doing right now. I'm a couple thousand miles from home right now. So you moved to DC. I'm in Dallas, Texas right now, and I'm from Chicago.
Nice.
And so some days I hate it. Some days I want to go home. But I'm so used to moving anyway, just around the state of Illinois. And then I was in Hawaii last year. So I'm used to moving. But when you're, sometimes I just want to be home, And I'm no, there's a reason why I'm out here. I didn't get out here by mistake. So I really you're speaking life into me right now. And it is a
Yes.
better environment, obviously. It's way better than being in Chicago right now. And it's about to be winter, and I do not want to go through another Chicago winter at all.
I totally understand. But I think it's just about, taking it step by step and day by day. You know what I mean? Like, I can't say that every day in DC was easy because it wasn't. I can't say that, it was a piece of cake because it just wasn't. There were days that were very hard, and there were days that I had to really, push myself to be able to go through these different things. Working in the White House, you're working there probably from 7 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. So that's beyond your general workday. And people don't know this, but White House interns actually are not paid. So you're really investing into your future and the connections that you're able to make while you're in the White House. There are campaigns to encourage the White House to pay their interns, but also there is an incredible opportunity to learn in the White House. But I know that in the same sense, because there is that same campaign to encourage the White House to pay their interns, I also know that everyone cannot afford to pick up their life and move across the country. So finances is definitely a big thing. If I did not have Running Start, I wouldn't have been able to put the money down on my first apartment in DC that I had saved while Running Start was paying for my housing, right? So there are different programs that can help with that, but also know if you are trying to make a leap of faith, understand that yes, there will require finances for that, right? And you have to be extremely strategic in how you implement them. Don't just allow someone telling you to take a leap of faith for you to take that leap of faith without being strategic about it and financially making sure you're able to do it. I think that there are a lot of people who encourage us to take a leap of faith and go after our dreams, but I encourage people to be careful of that process, because in the process of that, you can be reaching for a goal. And yes, you can go and throw everything you have after it. But if you don't succeed and you do it again and you do it again, eventually you'll be burnt out, right? And then to some point, you may not even want to try to go after your dream again because maybe you failed so many times. So I encourage people to put their all into their dreams, but do it in a strategic way so that they can space out their resources to be able to achieve that goal.
Yeah. See, that's the smart way to do it. The Sagittarius in me kind of just jumps, and then I kind of figure it out there. But what always works for me is I've always had a job, that pays for things, and then I just save money again all over. So I'm always a fan of hopping on a plane and then figuring out the details when I get there.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely do that, and you can find some beauty in just being impulsive and letting, the energy, the vibe, the spirit, whatever leads you. And I think that that's good too, but I think it's a balance of both, right? Taking the time not to take on too many things at once, taking the time to balance your life. I think it was Valerie Jarrett who said this in the White House when we were there, which was that you can do it all, just not at the same time. That's what her mother told her. And I believe that to be true. Yes, I can compete for Miss America, Miss USA, Miss Black International Ambassador, work in the White House or on Capitol Hill, or do all these great programs or go to Spelman or whatever the case may be, or even, build It's Her Power. But the reality of that is you can do it all, just not at the same time. And you do have to space these things out so that you aren't fatigued based on all the things that you're trying to do. So I would encourage everyone not to feel like they're in a rush or that they're in a race, right? Everything is on your time. And when the right timing comes, you'll see that your seeds that you're planting will flourish so much better when you plant them in the right season, right? And I just encourage so many people to take the time to look at the landscape and make sure you're not planting your seeds in the winter time for whatever that goal is, right? If you study and you're strategic, you'll know that there's a better season to do a particular thing than to just jump into it. So I encourage everyone to take that time to figure out what the best time is to plant that seed.
I love that. So do you think you would have ever won Miss Georgia, USA or America if you stayed?
I think that for me, I can't say. Well, I mean, honestly, I feel like if you hope for yourself and you can believe that you can, and I always will bet on myself 100% at the end of the day. But I also take the time to realize the landscape, like I was saying earlier, of what the thing is that you're trying to do. And I had already put in my time and effort. When I was my hometown queen, Miss Columbus, Georgia, I spent 180 days, if I'm not mistaken, every single day posting something on social media to get me closer to my goal. So I use social media to hold me accountable for doing one thing at least every day to make me closer to my goal. And what'd you say?
Of Miss Georgia?
Yeah, Miss Georgia America every day, to the point where even the leadership of Miss Georgia was like, how many days are we to Miss Georgia? Because I did a countdown for multiple months. I think it was almost maybe 5 months, if I'm not mistaken, where I literally just did something every day to get me closer to my goal. And I believe that it did get me closer to my goal, competing for Miss America, right? And at the end of the day, my goal was to be was to be able to walk on the Miss America stage with my naturally curly hair, right? Not as anyone else, right? So that was my goal. Would it have been great to be Miss Georgia America if God saw that fit? Yes. But God saw it fit that I was Miss District of Columbia America. And I'm so grateful, and Miss District of Columbia USA. And I'm so grateful, right, that God allowed me to do both of those and have both of those experiences. And I also wouldn't want it any other way, right? Because if I didn't move to DC, I would have never worked in the White House. I would have never met the Obamas. I would have never been in Congress. So I'm grateful that God closed that door for me and that I didn't keep trying when I saw that God had a better path for me, because my whole life and what I know it to be now probably wouldn't exist if I had just stayed in Georgia. Right. So I don't even and I remember there's one time, and I encourage so many pageant queens just to understand that God has a plan for you. And if you're not winning at that particular time, there's a reason why, there's a reason why that's happening, and to have faith that there's a plan for you. Because I remember my first year competing for Miss America in the Miss America organization, I competed as Miss Brookhaven. And I didn't even know that Miss Brookhaven would be a local title. So I started, I think it was Miss Georgia Cotton. Then I did Miss Fulton County, which is the county seat of Atlanta, Miss Conyers Cherry Blossom. And then I signed up for a pageant called Miss Southern Rivers. And at the very end of the pageant, it was the last pageant of the season. At the very end of the pageant, they said, we only had one title initially, but we want to announce that we have two titles. The second title will be Miss Brookhaven. And God willing, I was able to get that second title. On that night, another young woman, she competed with me and won the first title, which was, her name was Layton Jordan. She was Miss Georgia 2012. And she won Miss Southern Rivers. So we go to Miss Georgia. We both make top 12 that first year, right? The next year, she goes on to win Miss Georgia, and I compete for Miss Georgia and for 10 competitions in a row and do not win and do not qualify to compete for Miss Georgia 2012. I ended up competing another 6 pageants, one on my 6th try when I won Miss Rome, and made it to Miss Georgia 2013, and still did not win at that time. And by the way, I was still competing with straight hair at that time, right? I took a break because at the time you couldn't have told me my freshman year, after winning Miss Phi Beta Sigma, after being on campus for only 2 months, which is a huge, being able to be a Greek queen, which is a huge honor, to being top 12 at Miss Georgia as an 18, 19-year-old, my first try, that I would not have been able to, 1, make it back to Miss Georgia in place, or 2, win the title of Miss Spelman College, right? But in the process of that, I was so just taken, and I guess I don't want to say broke down, but I guess I kind of was really distraught, because I didn't know that wouldn't happen for me, because it was such a goal of mine, right? So I took a break, a hiatus from pageantry for a year, my senior year of Spelman. I said, I'm just going to enjoy my senior year. It's my last year on campus. I love this place. And I've been devoting so much time into pageantry, 16 pageants or 21 pageants from my freshman year to my junior year. I probably more than that, if I'm counting correctly.
All in the Miss America umbrella, correct?
all in the Miss America umbrella or on campus, either be Miss
Right.
Spelman, Miss Phi Beta Sigma, right?
Okay.
And yeah, so I think it was probably at least 25 up until my junior year. Did 25 pageants over the span of 3 years. And I was really tired, right? So I took my senior year to just take a break, a breather. And I remember halfway through the beginning of second semester, I said, I don't really know. Let me just pray about it. I'm going to do one more pageant just to see. And I prayed and I said, God, if you want me to do this, allow me to win. And if you don't want me to do this and and continue my hiatus, don't allow me to win. And in that
Mm,
competition, I got first runner up at Miss Fulton
wow.
County. And I said, okay, I'm going to take a break and I'm going to enjoy my senior year for everything that it is. And I came back the following year and I said, that's when I made the choice. Like, I want to be me. I have been wearing my hair the way people feel like I should wear my hair, speaking the way that people feel I should speak, promoting the issues in the way that people feel like I should promote them, and just doing all these different things that weren't true and authentic to me. And in that process of being broken down, I was able to build myself to being the woman that I wanted to be, fully embracing myself into the education of a historically Black college and university, and how that changed the way I look at the world, how I look at
Yeah.
myself, and decided that I was going to not only compete with natural hair, but was going to win, right?
Right.
So that process really helped build that space for me. And by the time that I competed for Miss Columbus, did not win, and ultimately moved to DC and really was like charting this path of where I wanted to go in life, I recognized that if I had won Miss Georgia in 2011, 2012, 2013, any of those years, right, it just wouldn't have been the same. And I wouldn't have been the same. I needed those failures. I needed the redirection. I needed the big move to DC to live on my own, away from family. I needed these different experiences to make me who I was. Going to Yale, like all these different experiences
Right.
happened because those doors closed. So now, at this point in time, I would never want to be Miss Georgia, America, or USA, knowing where God has taken me. Because if I had to go that route, I would have ultimately never been able to have these White House and congressional experiences and celebrity experiences that I have today. So I say that to say, don't knock why God is closing a door for you. Just be grateful. I'm grateful for the closed door, is what I would say, because it opened up a better door for me.
Yeah, and it gives you a lot of gratitude.
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah, I
So,
wake up with a grateful heart for sure.
absolutely. What pageant experience do you think was best when it came to competing at nationals and competing on TV? Was it for Miss America or was it for Miss Georgia? Oh, yeah. Behind the scenes action, on stage action, which one was the best experience?
Um, I would have to say, well, I competed during the pandemic twice for Miss USA and Miss Black International Ambassador. So that definitely changes the experience. But I would definitely have to say, and also like I competed for Miss America 1.0. So that gives a lot of variations, right? But I would have to say Miss America for the national level, Miss Black International Ambassador for sure overall.
Because
And
you
I
were in
say
Bahamas.
that, what'd you say?
Because you were in the Bahamas.
Right. The Bahamas, like what compares, right?
Right.
um, but in addition to that, just being able to be around my sisters and just, being able to do pageants that are more culturally aligned, that is really beautiful. But also I would say Miss America was really fun too, because it was very organized. And they allowed us to have our schedule weeks in advance, if I'm not mistaken. And I know that Miss USA did not allow us to have our schedule weeks in advance. I also would say that production, I think, is great either way. You know what I mean? In terms of people behind the scenes. So I don't really have like anything to say about that. Like they're all pretty cool. But I would say Miss America for sure was definitely like better in terms of just how structured things had gone and how every meal was thought out. We got to go to different places and, all those different things. It was just really, really cool. I know that that's not the case now. because there's so many changes in leadership. But at that particular time, I could say that competing at just pageant week was a lot more fun. We got to do parades and just so many cool things that really just made it feel welcome. And I also would say that like Miss America being in Atlantic City should always happen, because that city just hugs the pageant in a way that I've never seen a city hug a pageant before, right?
Really?
What'd you say?
I said, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, because it was founded in Atlantic City. There's so many like monuments and milestones and just things that happen in Atlantic City specifically for Miss America. And then just the boardwalk atmosphere with all the states or like lining the boardwalk, and just so many different things to just make it so much more welcoming to have the pageant in Atlantic City. I just really love that opportunity, I would say. And it was definitely a lot better in comparison.
Where were you at for USA? Remind me again.
We were in Memphis, Tennessee at Graceland.
Oh, yes. He was on that one stage. So when it comes to like logistics of, for people who are either going to a televised pageant, you know, the 100 girls who might be listening, the logistics of being on stage. So I always want to know, because I'm into TV and cameras and producing. So do you have to practice looking at the camera as opposed to looking at the judges in front of you? Like, how do you maintain your eye contact for the audience? Like during the swimsuit walk, for example. Is there really two camera people, or one camera guy and the grip guy, like right there in front of your face on stage while you're walking in a swimsuit? And do you look at the camera and then look at the judges? Or how do you know where to look at for TV?
For TV, they're going to tell you, and the cameras are going to have like a red light at the top of them. So you'll see when the cameras are switching. So you just kind of have to keep your eye on the camera. For, I want to say preliminaries, it's definitely different. But honestly, for me, my goal, first and foremost, if I know that the judges don't have because generally, the judges are going to have like a screen, but if they're in real life, you'll catch them looking at you more than they're looking at the screen. So I look at the judges, and the cameras are going to get whatever version of me they get. And if I happen to catch the fact that the camera is looking at me, like they have it timed to where one contestant is already looking at the judges while you're looking at the camera. So you don't have to feel like the judges aren't getting their shine or the camera's not getting the shine. So for half of my walk, I let the camera, get its attention. And then when it's time to look at the judges, it's time to look at the judges, because ultimately the camera's not going to give me a score per se, right? Like the judges are going to give me a score. The judges are going to determine if I move to the next round. So I got to give them their attention, right? So that's kind of how I balance it. And, where it feels most comfortable is what I do. But then again, it also my comfort level comes from my experience. So I would encourage any queen to focus on your comfort level and trust your gut, especially after you have put yourself in positions where you have a lot of experience.
So when it comes to like being in a bigger, like a bigger space, because obviously TV is a lot of people. Were you nervous? I feel like I would like throw up if I'm on stage. Just like seeing everybody, the whole hoopla of the event, everyone's yelling. Especially like I'm thinking like Miss USA specifically, or Miss America specifically, because it's just like a big space to be competing in. Coming from like maybe like competing in a high school auditorium. What was it just like being on stage and feeling the energy from the crowd?
Yeah, it's fun. I don't really get I would say in terms of walking on stage and speaking on stage, I really don't have an issue there. Mm-hmm. For me, and I think it's just, like I said, it comes from experience, right? So I would say for anyone, even to the extent of like just putting yourself out there every day, trying to meet a new person, when you go to the coffee shop, when you go to the store, just introducing yourself to someone new helps you not have an issue with being afraid of new people, right? And when I was younger, my mom used to always make me like speak on a microphone. Like if we were at a family reunion or at a church event and there was a microphone, she would say, go up to the microphone and introduce yourself. And I'd be like, but I'm not on program. This is not my event. Like, why do I have to speak on on a microphone. Like, what is the purpose? But she would
Yeah.
always have me do it. And it made me a lot less nervous to ever speak in front of people because I had done it so much. And then in addition to that, I really have very little fear about people that I don't know. Like if I don't know you, who cares? You know what you think. So so if there are a lot of people, cool, okay, but I don't know them. So like if I get more nervous when I know people than when I don't know people.
That makes sense. I guess I can see
Mm-hmm.
that. I just feel like there's just so many people. I went to Miss USA when it was in Shreveport, Louisiana, and when Sarah Rose Summers got crowned. And it was just like a lot of people. I was actually a seat filler, so I was moving around. It was actually kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a lot of people. I'm like, I can imagine, but I guess you don't also see them because the light's just like super bright on you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, you can see people. You can see in the front row. You can see family members that they have signs. And of course, like at Miss USA, the crowd was only 300 people because of COVID. So it was definitely a smaller crowd. But Miss America was in Boardwalk Hall, which is like a huge, almost stadium-like place. So I think if anything, Miss America taught me how to sing in front of large crowds because I think speaking is not an issue, but singing can be a little bit more difficult when you have nerves. Not necessarily that you're nervous, but just being in a space where you know you have to perform vocally is a different space. But there are so many different lessons and tricks and tips that you can learn to overcome that.
That's interesting. I never thought about that. I guess for people who are performing artists, they're used to having a lot of crowd and being on a big stage like that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to, I did want to mention a few things, but I don't want to hold you for too long. And probably about an hour. So when it comes to the Miss Black International Ambassador pageant and competing in your black, I was gonna say in your black hair, competing in your natural hair state. Do you think that? I mean, obviously, Miss Black Ambassador is a pageant for African American women, and you know the Miss America and USA system, anyone can compete. So, do you think that you had an advantage competing in your natural hair at a black pageant, whereas you might have had a disadvantage competing in your natural hair at the traditional pageants?
What do you mean by advantage? Like towards what?
As far as just being able to win and to sell yourself because you're competing in the black pageant. So, do you think that having natural hair and competing in a black pageant is more advantageous as opposed to like maybe competing with straight hair or getting a sew-in in a black pageant? I feel like sometimes if you're more.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
So actually, I believe that it is difficult in both spaces where women of color deal with racism in Eurocentric white mainstream pageantry. Women of color, Black women, deal with colorism in spaces where we are generally dominant. And I remember when I competed for Miss Spelman, we had a Black audience, Black voters, Black judges, Black contestants, and all of us wore straight hair at that time, including myself at that time. And I think that from those experiences and from my enlightenment through competing with my natural hair, I wanted to set the standard of beauty for me. And I believe that if we're in spaces where we are in leadership, then and we're in power, then we definitely should be setting the standard to be one where our culture is the standard of beauty. I believe that for Hispanic women, letting them being able to set their standards of beauty and be what's most authentic to them, Asian women, whomever, right? I don't think that it's easier, period. I think sometimes we feel like we can kind of understand, but it can still be very hard for us. I just believe that you have to be good at your craft, no matter what that is, right? And you have to be very intentional about your presentation on either stage, right? So I don't think it's easier. I don't think it gives you an advantage. I think you still have to go through the process of whether it's a big chop, a transition, the enlightenment, being able to just walk out the door in the morning with your new natural hairstyle. You know, all of that. You don't know if someone's going to be more welcoming or not welcoming. Sometimes our culture and our people are even harder on us than other people. They may say it to your face, whereas somebody else may say it to somebody else instead of you. It's still hard. You know what I mean? So it's really just something that you have to know what you're doing it for. And I believe it's one of the best things I could have done, because I can care less about if someone thinks I'm beautiful or not, because I think I'm beautiful. Because sometimes I know that no matter how bomb my natural hair looks that day, somebody still is gonna think it's not cute. Somebody still may think it's ugly, but I think it's great. So I'm aware, you know what I mean? So I think people just have to know that it matters what you feel about you. And when you feel good about you, everybody else can see that you feel good about you.
Yeah. And I just loved you on stage in your swimsuit and watching you at Miss USA and Miss America. I'm thinking of one, I can't remember, when you had a yellow swimsuit on. Right?
No, I haven't gotten the chance to wear a yellow swimsuit on national stage. So I know that would be killer. But I wore pink at Miss America. I wore a gold gown. I wore a yellow gown at Miss USA with a blue swimsuit that was sponsored for all the contestants. And then I wore a yellow gown at Miss Black International Ambassador and a pink sports bra for fitness.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. It's a yellow gown. I do remember seeing you in like a yellow color. So I want to know, was your hair, did you do a blowout or a curl out or a braid out? How did you get your hair texture like that?
So I just blew my hair out, and then I wanded it with a curling on, because I wanted something that was predictable. And I knew that if I was going to be the first woman to compete at Miss America, and anywhere else, right, on interviews, on the news, whatever the case may be, I had to be able to predict what my hair was going to do. And also have some backup hairstyles just in case, because I needed all of that, right? So I blew it out and wanded it. And I also use bobby pins to pin it down and hairspray it. And then I let it sit, and then I take it out. So that's how I get my fro to be as big as it is, and for the curls to hold. But also, because we were in Atlantic City for Miss America, the humidity, and in the Bahamas, the humidity is crazy. So I had to find ways to balance that. I remember right before the Miss America Show Us Your Shoes parade, I spent an hour doing my hair. It looked beautiful. I walked outside and it just said poof. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But a trick for naturals is I put bobby pins sometimes around the crown of my head, but you can never see it because I have afro. And whenever I need them, I can take them out and pin my hair up in whatever way. So when you go back and look at some of my pictures from the Show Us Your Shoes parade at Miss America, I have like this 1950s, 1960s reminiscent pinup style that I literally did in the car before the parade started because of the humidity of Atlantic City. And, just trying different things, but you just have to be careful. Like if you know your pageant is near a large body of water, be sure to have some backup hairstyles, whether that be a bun, a ponytail, whatever the case may be, a pinup style, so that you can, do your thing wherever you need to do your thing, but still look graceful and elegant and put together.
I'm actually looking up the pictures from Show Us Your Shoes.
Oh, yeah, I can send it to you. One of them's on Facebook, but yeah.
It looks so cute. Hold on. I'm going to bring it up here. Oops. Okay. Let me see if I can. I want to see, because you look so cute in this red dress.
Thank you. You were able to find it, or you need my help?
I found something.
Okay.
Let me try to pull it up for everybody. This little app is kind of funky sometimes.
It's okay.
So you said you blew your hair out and you wand curled it. You wand curled it and you took it out. Okay. So I was always curious because I cannot get my hair. What hair texture would you say you have?
Probably 4B, 4C, somewhere around there.
Okay. I'm over here with the 4C, and sometimes I just
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
know
I
what
think you just have to be strategic, you have to be strategic about what you want to do with your hair. You have to have backup plans in anything in life, but also with your hairstyles. Oh, you found it.
I'm trying to see how I can show it. I'm
But
trying to do
you have to be very strategic with your hairstyles and what you want to do. And also, I was very intentional too, right? So, one of the things that I did that was really important for me was really to make sure that every single time people saw me, my hair was natural. I know that a lot of times when queens are natural, people will say, like, oh, you can wear your hair straight sometimes, you can wear it natural other times, you can show versatility. But for me, I was very intentional about the inspiration that I wanted to create and the motivation for other women who wanted to be natural. And I
it.
knew that if I wanted to be natural, but someone else did not like that style, and I did any photo shoots or took any pictures, or someone else took a picture of me where my hair was straight instead of natural, if somebody didn't want to see my hair in that texture and they felt some type of bias for that type of hairstyle in any way, they had the power and the authority to change a photo, they may select a photo where my hair is straight rather than my hair being natural. And that was a risk I wasn't willing to take at any point of my pageantry career. So the last time I think I straightened my hair was in 2013, right? So it's probably
Really?
way over 7 years. Yeah. And I wanted to be intentional because I just believe that if I was able to just step foot on the Miss America stage and compete with my naturally curly hair, and just one person saw a photo of me with my naturally curly hair on that stage, then they could believe that they could do it too. Right.
Right.
And I wasn't willing to risk that one shot, that one split second of a photo for anyone. So I made sure that that happened. And initially, I thought it would be like, okay, God, I prayed about this. I really want this to happen. Maybe it'll be me winning Miss America, the crown being placed on my head with this and with my naturally curly hair. And to this day, that has not happened yet, right?
Right.
We've been blessed to have a Miss America crowned with her naturally curly hair, right? But I knew that me winning swimsuit was the picture that would go everywhere prior to Miss America, prior to the crowning of Miss America. And that gave me a lot of peace and comfort knowing that, and contentment knowing that I had put in the effort, I stuck to my goals, and I was able to see them through. Um,
Yeah.
and as a result, I would say the first year I was a little bit nervous as to if it was going to pick up, if people were going to like it. Not even that if people were going to like it, but more so if other women would be inspired to wear their natural hair too. And the
Mm-hmm.
next year after Miss America, I didn't see anyone with their naturally curly hair. But the following year, I think we had 8 women of color of African descent, and 4 of them had natural hair. So half of them had natural hair,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then on the USA side, you can definitely, reach out to Deshauna or anyone else. They'll say that me competing at Miss America was definitely, with my natural hair, was definitely an inspiration for them to wear their natural hair and compete with their natural hair,
Yeah.
because prior to that, they had always been competing with their straight hair. So, and all of us being in DC, right?
Mm-hmm.
So being able to be a catalyst and one of the first people to do that, right? Made me feel like my sacrifices that I made to put my cultural authenticity ahead of the potential to just be successful was worth it, because that was my ultimate success. And I didn't even realize at the time that it's not common for a queen to go to Miss America, wherever, and to trend online like I did, being in Essence and, People, Yahoo, just anywhere you could think of, MSNBC, like just so many different things, or so many different outlets are picking it up. And I didn't even
Yeah.
know that wasn't common. Like I was just like, oh, this is cool. People are seeing what's happening.
Oh,
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely appreciate my father because he literally made sure that my board as Miss DC America was able to amplify those outlets, because I know that many people don't even understand and get why it's a big deal, right?
Right.
They can say that they appreciate it, which I can agree with, but I don't think that people understand why it's so big. And I think
Right.
it's because women of color were not allowed to compete. There were literally
Period.
rules in the contract that said you must be of good health and of white race, somehow associating health with race, right? And that, to the point of my grandmother couldn't have never competed in some of the pageants that I've done, right? My
Right.
mom, even if she tried, would have been like met with deep racism, right? To even to the point where even if she was able to compete, it would have been extremely hard, especially for
Right.
her as a woman of color who is not biracial, right? And I'm grateful for our biracial brothers and sisters, because whether it be Obama or the next person, they're able to help us open the door to start the conversation. But I'm still looking forward to the day when we crown a Miss America or a Miss USA, who is a woman, an African American woman of color, who doesn't have to be biracial, who doesn't have to be quote unquote exotic from a different country, who can wear her naturally curly hair and be celebrated for that and be crowned in that moment, rather than having to bring that moment to the forefront later in her reign.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really important. And that's something I kind of mentioned in one of my episodes about racism and pageantry that I put out last summer,
Mhm.
was because I think that subtle racism that we see in pageantry, or discrimination we see in pageantry, is that, like, sometimes our hair is looked at as unkept if it's in its
Mhm.
natural state. Or like some girls may win, but they have curly hair, but they have like a looser curly pattern. And so it's more relatable, I guess you can say, or it's more conforming, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
Um, and it's just kind of like, or it sucks. Or do you see Zoe and she has her natural hair, but it's, cut really short. And so it's just like, you can't quite grasp the 4C ness just yet. And I just, like you said, I long for the day that finally someone is crowned the nice little afro like Deshauna had when she came out for her farewell walk, and then
Mhm.
it's crowned. And I think that we kind of got close to that with our Miss Teen USA, our current one, Kaylee. I think she looks gorgeous
Mhm.
in her crown, and I just love that. So
Yeah, we kind of got close to it, and I mean, she still is a
yeah,
beautiful queen, also biracial, but still very beautiful.
yeah,
And I think that it really speaks to being able to just make these strides. Like, I have been able to compete with my naturally curly hair, but I also am coming to like the end of my pageantry career, right? So in the process of that, I would be like handing on the torch to the next queens, which I've already done. And we've seen them, in so many different spaces wearing their naturally curly hair and making it easier for us to have that conversation. And I also
right,
think that people in Eurocentric pageantry don't even know that they have a bias, just like people don't know they have a bias towards different races in, the everyday world, right? But it's
right,
important for us to talk about it so that they can pick up on the fact that it is easier for women who are of biracial ancestry to make it through certain gateways that women who are not biracial are not able to make it through. And that is not a dig on any queen who's gorgeous and biracial, but it also speaks to and highlights the fact that we need to be more diverse in the intricacies of diversity, right? And that we need to educate ourselves on what that means and how we don't even realize that there are types of presentations that make it easier for people to like a certain group or ethnicity. And
right,
sometimes they don't like I guess the powers that be don't understand that they're actually asking for that, or that the way that they structure their pageant is leaning towards that, right? So
right,
they may not pick up on it, but they may select judges who may be more biased to that without knowing that there actually is a bias even in play, right? And they may pick sponsors who do the same thing, who may not realize that small little decisions here and there begin to lead up to a greater bias. that trickles down to the state and national levels, right? And national levels as well on the international front. So I think it's something that people need to definitely be educated on. I definitely encourage all pageant leadership to be more intentional about being diverse in their leadership. And that's why I'm so grateful to have Patrice as my director for Miss Black International Ambassador, because in over a decade of pageantry, she is the first person of any diversity that I've been able to be under the leadership of. And I think that that speaks to a great lack of diversity in leadership in our mainstream pageantry. And I encourage so many different women to understand that and to recognize that when they're competing, and to demand and encourage and speak out about the lack of leadership or diversity in leadership. And really, and for national boards and international boards to see that as well. It's not enough for us to have queens who look diverse if the leadership is not diverse, because at the end of the day, if you don't have diverse leaders and they don't select diverse queens, they never even have a chance to be on the stage. Or what happens is those gatekeepers only select those queens who fit that unknown bias that they're not picking up on. And when you have people who are diverse, they know that bias and they can select or encourage or include queens to be a part of their pageant competitions and have a fair shot, rather than being kind of blackballed because, or not even blackballed, but just not even given a chance, right? Because their skin is not as light as the next queen, or their hair texture happens to be more kinkier than the next person. There's so many different things that women of color don't get quote unquote passes on, that they have to do more just to have the same opportunity. And that's why I encourage queens who are still competing to reach out to queens like myself, to other queens like myself who coach or whoever, to know those things that other people just may not know. And they may not even know that they're selecting queens with this unknown bias that queens like myself and others have had to pick up on to have the same opportunity as others.
Wow, that's powerful. You really said a whole word right there. A whole message. Because I never really thought about that too, like the lack of African American or just diverse leadership. It's a problem in a lot of industries, but I never thought about it like, there is a lack of leadership in the pageant community.
For sure. And I think that it's definitely unfortunate, because what happens is a lot of times women of color have to fight in the first place just to be able to be the name that's called last, right? Or to even get the chance to have the crown on their head, right? And that means that the value in them sometimes is already not seen. So then we put these beautiful, amazing, excellent women of color into these spaces that don't already see their value to an extent, or that they have to fight to see that value, right? Or even sometimes like taking back some of their authenticity, like leaving a little bit of their blackness here and a little bit of it there just to get through this door and then the next door, and they're kind of like dropping it off as they try to progress towards success, right? And in the process of that, a lot of queens can lose who they are to themselves. And a lot of times we don't understand that they're still fighting to be accepted in a space that doesn't always see their true value. Right. They see a value, but they don't always see their true value. Right. So in the process of that, then these queens, like, they don't get the shine that I believe that they deserve. And that is one of the reasons why I think it's so important to have diversity. And also one of the reasons why I'm so grateful for Miss Black International Ambassador, because I don't have to fight for my director to see my value just because I'm a woman of color. She sees it already, right? She created this organization for me. And though I can understand sometimes people say things negatively about pageants that are cultural pageants, and I would encourage them every single day to rethink it, because this has been one of the best pageant experiences that I've had. And I've competed on some of the biggest pageant stages, right? And I say that because it's not just because it's a Black pageant, it's because it's it's connected to who I am and seeing the value of who I am. I think that Miss America and Miss USA definitely could also see that value too. But I think that would have to come after leadership is looked upon and people are able to see the beauty in diverse leadership and putting these people on the board so that they can make these experiences better.
Wow. Wow. I love that. So can you tell us more about what you have in store with your reign as Miss Black International Ambassador? And do you plan to retire once you give the crown?
So for me, it's definitely building It's Her Power. It's something that's super important to me and really is my hard work. I just created it last year. And though I have been doing the work for years and it is a platform of mine, but I started to invest more time and energy and effort into it and being able to connect myself with other people who've done incredible things for women. And it's something that really allows me to be able to actively work in my community in a way that I feel like is just so much greater. So you'll definitely see It's Her Power as a full nonprofit by the end of this year. But I'm so grateful to be able to create it, and to be the brainchild for something as cool as this. And in addition to that, I would say certainly doing more royalties through that programming. You'll see a lot more of me traveling and just showing people that, women, people of color, whomever, love travel, and we can get out and travel internationally, and just encouraging people to not just stay on their block, to not just stay in their neighborhood, to not just stay in their state, but to really travel. Like that's a part of being an international queen. And in addition to that, just seeing me push more so into the arts. I'm a classically trained singer. And I love being able to perform in many different facets. So being able to do more of that this year, you'll see a lot of that. And a lot of my entrepreneurial efforts with Cierra Jackson Consulting and Sierra's Corner. My earrings that you see today were worn by Miss California USA. What'd you say?
Your earrings are super cute too.
Thank you. They're from Sierra's Corner. They were worn as well. These particular pair, not this exact pair, but the style of them was worn by Miss California USA on the Miss USA stage last year. Some of you all may have seen Chesley Chris, Miss USA 2019, wearing them during her pair of earrings from Sierra's Corner during the Miss USA telecast, and so many other incredible queens like Miss Delaware, Miss Montana, and myself on the Miss USA stage. So you'll probably see a lot more of Sierra's Corner in publications and magazines, on television. That's really a big goal of mine and something I'm really pushing for. You'll probably see me do more projects with politicians, with Cierra Jackson Consulting and other public figures, and just really building out platforms around that. You'll see me doing more motivational speaking and really also just advocating for people of color to see ourselves, to promote our organizations, to promote our institutions, whether that's historically Black colleges, Black businesses, pageantry like Miss Black International Ambassador. I used to see the value of pageantry and competing in Black pageantry, right? But it wasn't until I actually competed for Miss Black International Ambassador until I was able to truly feel the liberation of what it feels like to never have to box yourself in, just to be able to be successful. And I thought that, like, so many of us will think like, oh, a Black pageant, like, oh, maybe I don't have to do that, or maybe I want to do this or that. But there is a liberation that you feel that you don't get unless you compete, right? And that liberation allows you to compete as yourself without having to second guess, oh, is this too Black? Oh, is this too cultural? Am I being too authentic? Do I have to kind of take this back? Like, so many times we just have that feeling. And I think that the conversation that people ask, like, why are HBCUs important, is in the same vein of why Black pageantry is also important. Cultural pageantry, if you're competing for Miss Latina USA, whatever the case may be, right? Like, even I think in Hawaii, they have Chinese pageants, just so many different types of pageantry that I think, and not even just that, even though I have been, grateful to walk on these national stages, I would definitely encourage queens to just compete in other pageants as well, because I think so many times we tell queens like, oh, if your pageant's not Miss America or Miss USA, it's not valuable, right? And I think that is the biggest farce people could ever say.
Right.
There are so many other pageants that are doing so much for women and who are working hard for their name and working hard for their reputation, for their impact in the community, that I think we do ourselves, not them, not their organizations, because they're still working, but we're doing ourselves an injustice when we don't give them a fair chance and we don't apply to those pageants. Because they just have so much to offer and they're working hard for their name rather than, just saying we have the name. And I think that there's so many great things that are happening in pageantry, whether it be Miss America, Miss USA, Miss Black International Ambassador. And I want it to be known that I appreciate all of those experiences, but I just want I want to dismantle the belief that you have to do a particular pageant to be able to make it to a particular point, and
Sure.
that can only be appreciated, because I think that even in my experiences as Miss Black International Ambassador, and I've only been queen for less than 2 months, there have just been so many opportunities, being able to meet the First Lady of the Bahamas, being able to do appearances with even Marjorie Harvey's foundation, being able to do events like the New Black Wall Street, and just so many different things, national magazines, just things that I would not have been able to have the experience to have if I was too afraid to do a pageant outside of Miss America, Miss USA. So I just would encourage people to demystify that belief, because it just couldn't be further from the truth. And I think that we're really missing out on great opportunities when we all try to only get into a particular path and we don't look to see what else there is to offer.
Well, I love that. I feel like the message for today is to be uncomfortable, to get out, and to kind of like be yourself. You talk about traveling and moving away, being able to compete in different systems, being authentically you. And I just love it. It's like breaking out of a shell or a fragment of a past life and becoming a whole new butterfly, like, and being free. And I just love it.
I believe that. I think we have to celebrate ourselves. We have to push ourselves. We have to really not be afraid, but also take the steps that we need to get to that point, right?
Yeah.
And it's, you might be afraid today, but that doesn't mean that you can't do this one big thing. Like, you can break it down into parts, right? If it's natural hair, maybe you're not ready yet to compete on a national stage. Okay, wear your natural hair to the grocery store, then wear it to church, then wear it to a Zoom interview, right? Then wear like, take baby steps, and in the process, you'll be ready at some point to compete with your naturally curly hair, or whatever that case may be. So take it step by step, day by day. And I would also say create a tribe of people who encourage you and believe in you. Spelman College was my tribe that encouraged me to be naturally curly and to wear that on stage. And every person needs that. And I also would say, like, in pageantry, just know that all that glitters is not gold. And I can't say that enough, because I think I see so many queens throwing themselves at particular titles and not always being treated in the best way that they need to be treated, whether that's because of racism, whether that's just because of the way a structure of an organization is, right? But I would encourage you to speak out. You deserve to be respected and loved and cared for. And at minimum, you deserve to be respected, right? And I think that, and a lot of times we talk about the crown and how fun it is and all these different experiences, but I think that we don't talk about the hard times, and we don't talk about the times where people wanted to give up and what that looked like, right? All the time, right? So I think it's important to think about those things, and in the times where people just aren't treating you the best, or people are hating, or whatever the case may be, But I always say that every success story has a villain. Now, I personally would never want to be the person who's hating or being the villain in a success story, but I play my role. My role is to be the successor. Their role is to be the villain. So at this point, I never even get too caught up with what other people say about if I'm wearing my hair natural, if I'm doing this, or if I'm doing that, right? I focus on the fact that I'm going to be successful. And I know that because I believe that, and I believe that that's something that God has for me. And I know that even if Jesus, right, had people who were hating, had villains in his story, then certainly I'll have them in mind. But those people who may have been racist to me, those people who may have been mean to me, those people who weren't the best to me, right? They are part of the revealing of the diamond in the rough, right? And though they don't realize that their negative things that they say or do are helping me be the better person that I am, they are, because I believe that what God has for you is for you. And nobody can take that away. The crowns, the titles, the advantages we have, those things have our names on them, I believe, from the day we were born. And there's nothing we can do except give up to keep us from getting to that goal. So our one job in life, I believe, is to make sure our dreams and passions that God has given us are, seen and brought to the light. And we can't get upset when other people don't see our dreams and our visions the way that we do, because if it were for them to see, God would have given them those dreams and visions, but it wasn't for them to see, it was for us to see. So it's our duty to make those dreams come to life.
That's a whole message right there. I would say preach. I think you should become a pastor. But I just love it. I love it. No, I really do, because your crown is destined, from the day you were born. Your whole life is kind of set out, and it's just a matter of just getting what all is made for you and created for you.
Correct. And then think about, just like, I can be inspirational in this way, but I also cannot stress to queens enough: have your own team, have your own tribe. You want people who believe in you for you, not just because you have a title. People who love you for who you are, not just because you have the sash or crown. And you will see that in this industry: people who will gravitate to you because you have a crown and a sash. And it's important for you to have discernment about the people that you keep in your space and your circle, and know how to categorize who people are and what position they play in your life, what role they play in your life, to help with mental health, to help with your trajectory in life. Have a good mentor, not just a pageant mentor, have a good life mentor, right? People who can really help you be on the right path that you need to be on to be successful. So, and to know that pageantry is just a vehicle, right? Like, we take it for as far as it can take us, but at some point we get out of the car and we move to the next destination and we do the next thing. So I definitely would just encourage people to know, like, be grateful for the journeys that pageantry takes you, but also know that pageantry isn't the end all be all, and that it will guide you to the next step. But you have to be open and vigilant to know, number one, first and foremost, what you came into pageantry for, so that when that door opens and the opportunity presents itself, you can find that opportunity and take hold of that and walk through that door. But if you just go into pageantry without a plan, you're not going to see that door and that opportunity when it presents itself, and you might miss it. So keep your focus in this game. It's not just about the crown and the sash. It really is about who you become as a woman. And if at any point pageantry is changing you to the point where you may not like who you are becoming as a woman, understand that there is no greater risk than losing who you are. And it is important that you take the breaks that you need, mental health, whatever the case may be, to make sure that you are progressing and growing in these very developmental years, middle school, high school, college, whatever the case may be, and growing into your femininity, that you're taking the breaks that you need to be authentic to who you are, allowing yourself to blossom as you would want to, before you allow someone else to critique how you blossom, right? So take the time to take the break like I did. I think I took 2 big breaks in my pageantry career, or maybe
Yeah,
more than that at this point. But taking the time to take the break, to grow authentically, to not always be in a pageant if you don't have to be, right? To not give your all to a pageant without expecting something in return. You know, a lot of times we throw our all at pageantry and we don't expect to gain anything, or we think our gains are only what's in the prize package. But there are so many ways that you can still grow and be fed into in the process of you also giving to your community to serve.
yeah. Well, I love that. I thought that's a great point to kind of land on and
Mhm.
for us to take home. Before I let you go, I do always like to ask my guests for a book recommendation. Is there anything that you're currently reading or a book that you feel like is most inspiring that you can let us know about?
Oh my goodness, there's so many good ones. I'm trying to think of one that I've been looking into. Hmm. Honestly, girl, in the process of my like journey, I would say there's this book, I can't remember, I think it's called The Little Black Book of Leadership.
Okay.
I think it's well, I think it may also be, I can't remember the author, but I think it's for Black women, for us to be able to learn the tips of leadership.
Okay.
Of course, if you're a believer, I'm always going to say the Bible, like that's going to get you through some of your toughest days, right?
That's a good book.
Um, but yeah,
Okay.
but one or two of those are really great. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. All those are really good. I feel like there are more that I could probably say that are more influential, but those are the only ones I can think about right now.
Oh, you're fine. That's a good one to start off with. So thank you so much for coming on to the Pageants and Prosecco podcast. How can people find you on social media after
Mhm.
the show?
For sure. You can check out my website, sierrajackson.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Sierra D Jackson. You can follow my businesses, Sierra's Corner, Sierra_Corner, and Cierra Jackson Consulting on Instagram. You can see more about the programming that I'm doing with It's Her Power at It's Her Power on Instagram, as well as I Am Royalty. And that's spelled I Am Royal and then TEA, because it's an exclusive kind of like brunch/tea party where people are able to really connect to politicians, pageant queens, invite only event, just leaders in the community that really make a difference. And if you want It's Her Power or I Am Royalty to come out to your community, you can definitely reach out to us. There's going to be a lot of really cool things happening this year and next year. Don't want to, spill the beans, but definitely stay tuned.
You got to come to, is this correct?
Yes, that is correct for I Am Royalty, and It's Her Power. It's just ITS, her. Yep, correct. And then Sierra D Jackson, that's CIERRA. D is in dedicated and Jackson. And yeah, there's so many other things, Sierra's Corner, you name it. But there's so many ways you can connect. And I'm more than willing and wanting to be able to allow my journey at Sierra's_Corner. And there's so many cool things that people can really be a part of that I'm doing. And I want to encourage everyone to just check in with me, just say, hey, how you doing? I saw your, yeah, that's perfect. I saw your interview with Pageants and Prosecco and I loved it, or whatever the case may be. But just let us know. I think both of us would appreciate one of those messages.
Yeah, absolutely. I would. I check my DMs like once in a while, so sometimes
Yes.
I get some crazy stuff in my Instagram DMs.
Yeah, it's a lot. There are a lot. I definitely have to get through mine day by day. I'm like, it's a lot of DMs in there. But I would also say as well, check out the and if you want to check out what I'm doing specifically for Miss Black International, you can go to MBIA.21 to see all the things that I'm personally doing. And if you want to follow or you want to be a part of the next Miss Black International Ambassador competition, I would definitely encourage you to follow them at MBIA_pageant. They have a lot of great things there. We have new leadership boards and advisory boards and just so many cool things happening on the MBIA side. So I would encourage all of you all to look into that, especially if you're a woman of color.
Yes. Yes, yes. And then also tune into that episode with Patrice Harrison so you can learn more about the pageants and how she got started into it and her background and why she decided to create a pageant. And I think we recorded before she announced the Bahamas location. So she was kind of teasing it a little bit in the episode. But how was the Bahamas? Did you have a good time?
Loved it. Loved the Bahamas. I think that was might have been my first or second time going to the Bahamas, but really was just so important, and then like meeting like essentially the first our equivalent of the first lady in the Bahamas, like was just remarkable and something that I would just encourage queens, especially if you're in politics, to also utilize your platform to be able to move towards aspirations that you have, if that's in politics or in fitness or in finance or in whatever the thing is that you want to be a part of, just to be open to taking your opportunities with your title to move towards those spaces. So, but yeah, the Bahamas was amazing. We had photo shoots. We did sunrise beach photo shoots. Just so many cool things. We had so many great dinners on the beach. Just really cool experiences. And I definitely had a very interesting experience competing during a pandemic with Miss USA. It was definitely tough. The COVID
Yeah.
protocols were a lot. We unfortunately had like a lot of yelling that was happening during competition week that I feel like definitely could be changed, right? But I
Yeah.
also would say going from that to having this incredible experience in the Bahamas was something that I'm so grateful to at this point in time say that I could, come to a capstone in my pageantry career about having been Miss Black International Ambassador. I think it's a beautiful experience that I'm so grateful that I took a leap of faith and decided to compete.
Yeah, and I'm excited to. Well, I've been following you for quite some time, and it's exciting to see that you win a national crown. And I'm just so proud of you, and I'm just been a fan since for a minute over the phone. So to actually
Thank
like sit down and talk
you.
to you, it's been so amazing. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you for sure. I hope my goal, like I said before, even on Instagram and even now, is just to let people know that you can still be successful and you don't have to, check your blackness or your excellence at the door. There are going to be spaces that, whether it's Miss America, Miss USA, Miss Black International Ambassador, you can still be your authentic self in these spaces. And it's more valuable to be yourself than a version of you that's not really you in any of these
Yeah.
spaces. So just always be true to you for sure.
Oh, well, thank you. That's a good message. And I hope you guys all like gather something from this interview. You are dropping so many gems left and right. And I really do appreciate you coming on to this episode. You have to come back sometime. Maybe before you give your title, you gotta come back. Wait, you never asked my
Yeah.
question. Are you retiring?
I mean, I haven't made an announcement, but I think this is a beautiful place to retire. It allows me the space to just have this beautiful, amazing international title, but also advocate for our people. And
Right.
and yeah, I mean, honestly, I think one of my goals has just been to do everything that I can do in my 20s and my 20s, everything I can do in my 30s and my 30s, and so on and so on. And I think that being able to have pageantry as a part of my 20s has just been an incredible experience for sure. So that's all I'll say for now, but I'm very content at this point in my life.
Because you're 20, you just turned 29. But
Yes, 29.
happy belated birthday. I know I saw
Thank
it recently on
you.
Instagram. I don't know when I forgot when it was. But yeah,
Thank
happy birthday.
you. Yeah, for sure, for sure. This has been an incredible experience and having so many queens, like even my pageant sisters, my roommate was Miss Bahamas. Like how
Oh,
more lucky could I have been to have her as a roommate, right?
yeah.
And we just had so many queens. Miss Virgin Islands was there, Miss United Kingdom was there, like just incredible experiences of seeing women of color just from all over the world being a part of this competition. So grateful to have met my pageant sisters. I love them all so much, and I can't wait to see what they do next too.
Yeah. And we can't wait to see what you do this year. So we'll be
Thank
following you
you.
on social media. I'll go ahead and flash these one more time. And
Yes, and we can. I would love to come back maybe when we're really showing more about It's Her Power, and when our board and everything is set. I would love to talk more about that and politics and kind of what we're doing.
Absolutely. Well, you are definitely invited back whenever you free. Feel like it.
Thank
I
you.
cannot
Thank
talk. My
you.
nose is so congested. Oh my gosh, I cannot talk today.
Oh no, well, I hope
But
you feel better.
thank you. You are more than welcome to come back at any time. And I hope you bring your royalty to Chicago or Dallas. I'm in between those two locations, so I'll catch you at one of those stops.
Yes, let me know. We can collaborate on something. I'd love that.
Okay, we'll talk. All right, you guys, thank you for tuning into this episode. I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Bye,
Peace.
everyone. Thank you.